All right. Well, welcome everybody to the September 3rd, 2020 free webinar from AppSheetTraining.com. We're Crew Tech. My name is Clark James. I'm going to be hosting with Mr. Stephen Quartermont. Uh, we are both consultants here uh, at Crew Tech, as well as other job titles, as Stephen tells me. Um, but welcome in. Just wanted to talk a little bit before we got started about AppSheet and why people would want to use it. Why would anyone even consider a no-code platform for their business development? So AppSheet provides a no-code development platform for application software, which allows users to create mobile, tablet, and web applications using data sources like Google Drive, Dropbox, Office 365, and other cloud-based spreadsheet and database platforms. The platform can be utilized for a broad set of business use cases, including project management, customer relationship management, field inspections, and personalized reporting. Some of the big features that we find our clients are interested in include, but are not limited to, data capture, data collaboration, data display, and even declarative programming models. So all that's a lot of big words to describe something that's pretty simple in itself. AppSheet's super efficient, super agile, um, and it's super approachable. Uh, Hope y'all can see the pointer, but if not, well. So learning programming languages and learning how to do custom development can be incredibly challenging. It's super difficult to get started into, especially from someone who has no background in technology. So why would you want to trust a no-code platform? Well, no-code development makes it much easier to solve your problems when you're wanting to build an app for your business. AppSheet is, like I said, it's agile, it's efficient, it's approachable, giving you the means to build apps quickly, making changes to them quickly to meet your business needs. AppSheet is also incredibly efficient because you don't have to create every piece of the user interface, custom building all of the boring details that are necessary for full-fledged coding applications, like building margins and make sure that everything's lined up correctly. It's just a hassle. And luckily with AppSheet, you don't have to do those things. This allows you to focus on more important things that are more relevant to your business, like your actual data. The approachability to AppSheet is pretty easy as well because it doesn't require you to learn too many foreign concepts. Um, Spreadsheet data, if you're good with spreadsheets, if you're good with Excel or Google Sheets, then you're going to be awesome in AppSheet because of how well that translates, how well that correlates to building your custom apps. Uh, there's a few things about relational databases and understanding how one thing in an app affects another, such as like the size of your data, the performance of your app, uh, because things like that can take a little bit of time to get used to. But from a big picture perspective, it's a really, really approachable way to build your app for your business. So I want to talk about this chart over here. Um, you have three, you can see it, but you have three things here. You have your business stakeholder, you have your operations lead, and you're going to have your IT and developers. Okay. Your business stakeholder, this is going to be the boss. Okay? This is going to be the guy who's over everybody. This is your money. This is your funding. This is the person who actually wants the app to be built, the idea. Then you have your operations lead. This is going to be your managers. These are going to be the people that are in charge of the employees, and they are going to be have a very direct relationship, one-to-one communication about how the business stakeholder wants the app to be built. And then the manager is uh, over the IT and developers. Obviously, this is going to be the people that are actually going to be building your apps. They're going to be spending the time to putting everything together. Um, And so there's a communication here. So we have communication here and we have communication here, but usually there's no communication here. And so that can be pretty rough um, on a developmental uh, aspect because um, if the IT developers don't understand what this business stakeholder wants, or the operations lead isn't good at communicating what the stakeholder wants, then the app's not going to look the same way as the business stakeholder because of all of the details that the IT developers are going to be trying to create. Um, and so And for a lot of us, we have smaller businesses that are, sometimes all three of these departments are all run by the same person. They're all the same person because um, it's just how things are. Um, and so AppSheet makes it very easy for all three of these entities to collaborate to make something great um, in such a time and money efficient manner because of how awesome AppSheet is. Um, all right, and so without further ado, we're going to go ahead and go to talk about today's demo. We're actually going to be talking about expressions. Um, we're going to be talking about the select expression and the sum expression. You can see here we have an expression here that actually takes the sum of different times in order to give a full time card for, say, the week. Um, so that's going to be really, really helpful, and Stefan's definitely going to be able to go into more depth with that if you would like him to. And then here's some of the main concepts that we're going to be going over. We're going to be going over expressions that return a list of things. That's going to be the select expression. Ooh, sorry. Um, we're gonna see how to visualize and test our expressions to make sure that they're working, so that they don't, you know, we put a bunch of code in and it just crashes our whole app. That's not it's not ideal. It's not what we're looking to do. And then we're also going to be looking at how to add aggregates to a list of things in order to make it more substantial. It's going to be Stephen. What's the word that you would use to describe it?
It helps you organize information and sum things up inside your app. So that's just the nature of aggregates. And yeah, Clark, if you want, I can jump right in.
Yeah, feel free. Feel
Awesome.
free to take over.
Jake, thanks for jumping in with us. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and just let them out there, even if I'm in the middle of talking about something, or you can throw them in the chat if you want. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Last week, we went over a particular timesheet app. I'm going to do a quick overview of that, and then I will start talking about particulars of the select expression and sort of how they work in this app. All right. Can somebody give me a thumbs up? Are we seeing the right screen? It says webinar timesheet demo in the top left. Okay, great.
Yeah, we're seeing it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So this app has 3 tables. It's fairly simple, but also pretty functional for a real business use case. We have a table of employees. A employee will create many time cards during the week. This is the little clock in feature here, where they will clock in and clock out of whatever task they're doing. And then we have timesheets that are submitted weekly and will aggregate all of the times collected from the time cards for a given employee for a given week. So what we're going to be exploring is how we use aggregate functions in the timesheet to sum up data from another table in our app. So as you may know, AppSheet has the ability to relate data tables to each other and share data and information across those relationships. That is called relational database, like relational databasing. And it is achieved through the use of the reference column type. So in our time card, we have a column called user, and it's of type ref. And if I look in the details of this column, its source table is the employees table. So anytime I put a value here in this column, it's going to try to connect it to the employee table, and also allows me to return information from the employee table from that specific employee to other parts of this data table and do math and other sorts of things, which we'll get into in a second. Now we have a couple of people on the call. How does everybody feel about select expressions, aggregates, and stuff like that in an AppSheet? If like scale of 1 to 5. Okay, so we got some medium. Jake says he's a 3. Jake's probably a 4, 4.5.
Yeah, 3 or 4 for us as well.
Okay, excellent. So out of respect for the attendees, I'm going to keep it at a 3 or 4 education level. And if I'm going too fast or you want me to explain something, just let me know. Okay, so our timesheet works like this. If I'm going to clock in, let's back this up. Say I was here 6 a.m. I'm going to save. And then now I'm going to clock out of this card, clock out. Sum total was 5 hours on 9/3. Today's a Thursday. If I was going to submit my timesheet today, I did 0 hours Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, except there's a 5 on Thursday, 0 on Friday, 0 on Saturday, total hours for the week, total overtime, and total amount 0. So I don't have a user for this particular person in the app. So the relationship between the employees table is not pulling data. That's why some of these numbers look funny, but we're going to be focusing particularly on this expression here that generates this 5. So what does it mean to have a list of things in an expression? So right now, if you're familiar with the formula column or the initial value column, you know that you can put an expression in here, and these expressions need to return a value that is of a certain type of data. So because this column for edited timestamp is a date time column, I have to have an expression that returns data in this format. Now, down below, we have the kind of expression library here. We have expressions that return yes, no data types, math data types, or numbers. That's prices, decimals, and numbers. We have text data types. This is things like name, email, text, long text. Those are just some of the examples of things you would see in the column type. We have times, dates, times, and date times. And then we have a list data type. So a list is sort of a grouping of entries of individual records or values that are of a certain data type, or potentially a mixed data type. Usually in AppSheet, it requires you to have values of the same data type, but it just means there are many things, many items that have a certain type of data. We're organizing them into a list. And we have certain operations that we can do with these lists. So I will just create a new virtual column here and do a quick test to kind of explain the select expression. Add a virtual column. I'm not going to worry about the name, but under our list data type, if I scroll down, I'm going to find an expression called select. Not everybody uses the select expression, but to me, it's kind of the basest expression for generating lists. There's another one that's a little bit more simple, but the most common one we tend to use is the select expression. And so it says, give me a list of lists. That's confusing, sorry. Give me things of a list data type in the first parameter for the expression, and then a filter expression on the right. And that is going to, and I'll basically filter this list by this filter expression here and return you a subset of the list. So normally what we put in this first parameter is a table. So for us, the table we're looking at is the time card table. And then I can't just return the whole table. I have to return a particular column from the table. So I'm going to go ahead and find a column here. If you don't know what this is a Chrome extension that we made here at Crew to kind of help us build expressions and not knock our head against the wall doing a lot of expression work in AppSheet. You can find this in the Chrome extension store if you are interested. So let's go ahead and pick time in, for instance. And I put this in square brackets because that is the column notation. We can see here at the very top of list, there's a format here, a pattern for table name, square brackets, column name. And then I'm going to put no filter expression. So I'm just going to.
Stefan, sorry, can you point again to, I apologize for interrupting, but can you point again to where the format of the expression is?
Yes.
I don't know if I didn't see it or you went through fast.
Yeah. Please interrupt me anytime you have a question. It does not bother me one bit. So this is the format or pattern of the way I pulled this list in the first parameter of the select expression.
Right.
So the format is, I'm just going to put a new line here. I'm going to insert this. It's table name and then the name of the column that you want to return from that table. So you can only return one. And if you're trying to like reference the whole table, so to speak, you would put whatever the key column is. So for employees, I happen to know my key column in this app is email. So I would just throw employees email. And so this becomes what AppSheet calls a reference list, or a list of keys from another table that you can then do some special things with. So in the same way, if I want to query or search or filter a list of things from another table, I'm going to define my list of things using my table name, column name pattern. And then I'll put my filter expression. Right now, I'm just going to put true because I want to return everything. And then I'm going to test. I have not fixed our Chrome extension based on the new AppSheet editor. So, can't find column time in. Oh,
yeah, I believe you're missing a space. Yeah.
Thank you, Clark. If you press this test button, AppSheet is going to run your expression on every row inside this table. And it looks like I have no rows in my table. Why don't I have rows in my table? It's because I have a security filter. Sorry, guys. Let me fix this. Better yet, I'm going to go to my data. I'm going to open up my time card table, view my source. So I have a security filter that prevents certain users from accessing certain data. So right now, unless you're an admin, you can only see your data, of which I have none in the app. I have one time card that I created under this email address, which this is kind of hard to see. I'm going to go ahead and zoom this in for you guys. We can see I only have one here, but I'm going to just find and replace in this sheet my other email address. Bingo. Okay. And I'm going to refresh the app. Should solve our problems. Embarrassing on the webinar. But such is life when you're making apps. Okay. Diving back in, we're going to do the same expression. We're going to run the test, and it's going to work this time. All right. We have our select expression. And I'm going to put a little formatting here just to keep things clean and legible for us. Time card table, time in column. Our filter expression is true. Test. Okay, there we go. That's what I wanted to see. So it runs this expression and it's going to return the same thing for every row because I don't have a filter. that's dependent on anything. And so I get this big comma separated list of times. I'm just going to copy this and paste it over here so we can kind of see that a little bit better. Well, that's kind of ugly, but this is a list of things. It's a comma separated list of returned values. So this is all the time ends in the time card table. Now, what if this really isn't very valuable for a lot of things inside of your apps, but it is the first starting block to learning things like how many times has this person clocked in, or how many total hours for this week has this person been clocked in. So in order to get the answers to those questions, which are our common business questions, this is aggregates, this is reporting, this is roll-up statistics, whatever you want to call it. This is calculated business data or analytics in its sort of simplest form. In order to do it in AppSheet, you have to understand how to generate filtered lists of things and then run an aggregate expression around that to calculate out your value. So I'm going to update this column, and instead of doing our time column, I'm going to do our calculated time column. So that is a decimal data type. And so that's something that we can actually aggregate. You can't aggregate a time data type. It just doesn't really work that way. But we can aggregate decimals. So just for the sake of education, we're going to test this one. All right, we are getting some nice comma separated list of decimal numbers. And then what I want to do is I want to say, what is the total amount of time worked here? Or what is the summation of all of these times? So AppSheet has an expression for that, which you will find in the other section, I believe. No, it's in the lists. Maybe it's not. Anybody knows which one this is in, and you just want to like throw me a bone, you're welcome to do that.
What are you looking for?
I'm looking for the sum expression. I'd love to just show it's in math. There it is. All right. Thank you, CJ. You're promoted. Jedi Master. Okay. So we see that the sum expression takes a list data type, and then it's going to return a number data type. So it's going to aggregate the sum total of values in this list and add them all up to return a single number. So that is what I want to do here. So I'm going to put my sum expression. Again, this tab formatting means nothing in AppSheet. It's just for us to help keep it organized and understand what we're doing here. All right, I'm going to run this test. That is not what I wanted to do. I need to fix our Chrome extension. That's what we're learning here. Nope. Okay. Well, how can I click this? Bummer. Okay. No. There are more ways to do this than one. All right.
So right now you're displaying the results in a new virtual column, right?
Correct. Yep. And we're going to see if this appears in our timesheet here. There it is. Okay, so we see our test result. It says 129.11 hours. And so it is aggregating all of the times in this column right here, calculated time. So if I just do a quick drag down of all of these, we see in the very bottom right of my Google Sheet that it actually sums it up for me, 129.11. And then the same thing over here, 129.11. So there's a quick check, just make sure I did it right. Now, this is not business viable yet because we're just aggregating all of the time. But if I want to know how much time did this person work this week, I need to know, I have two dependencies there. How much time did this person, so I know it's related to a specific user, work this week, being related to a specific week. Okay, so there are some things, some foundational things that we actually will have to do to our data in order to actually expose that type of what we would consider metadata about a record in order to filter it properly. So we have already done that. We created two columns, one for the week num, or the number of the week and the year, and then a year column to kind of break out what is the number of weeks that this time card was created in. We can see the formula here. It is running the week num expression on the created timestamp column, which is a date time, and it's extracting the week in which that thing was created. We can see an example here. The created timestamp is 5/16/2019. So the actual number of the week and the year, May 16th, is week number 20. We see 21, 22, 23, number 10, 35. So all the way up to 52. And then the year, obviously self-explanatory. So I have these in my data. And I'm going to I also have a column. The same columns are in time card. I have a column for user. So I'm going to use the user column, the week num column, and the year column to filter and make sure I can get the result that I want. So it's a good practice to kind of build on things in small amounts. So let's just start with the year. Okay, so a note about expressions, and this can trip people up sometimes, is something called context. So I'm building this expression. This is in a virtual column for the timesheet table. Okay, but I am writing this filter to filter data in the time card table. So when I make a column reference, is it relating to a column in the timesheet table or the time card table? Well, it's not apparent right off the bat or super intuitive what the answer is, but inside of the select expression, every column that you mention in square brackets is treated as if it is related to the table or list that you're running this select expression on. So we've said this is part of the time card table. And that being the case, this calculated time column, AppSheet is searching for its value in the time card table. And because I put the year expression here in our filter statement, it's looking for a column called year in the time card table. Fortunately, there is one and it will find it, but there's a year column in both the timesheet and time card table. So it can be a little confusing, and it actually gets a little bit more confusing because we want to compare the year column in the time card table to the year column in our timesheet table. So for this timesheet that is running in the current year, I want to select time cards that are of the same year. So I can't just say year is equal to year, because then it would be asking, it's basically asking itself, okay, for this time card, does the year column match the year column for the same record? The answer would always be yes. But I actually want to know, I want to relate this year column to the row that we're running the formula on from the timesheet table. And in order to do that, I have to use an expression called this row and then put a dot in between year and this row. AppSheet calls this a dereference. We can see it in the other section here. The pattern is reference column, lookup column. And we get this square bracket with a column name, with a period, and another bracket. The common use case for this is when you have a reference column, like our user, that is relating back to an employee record that has attributes like an email address or the value of their admin column. So to return information from the column that you reference from another table, you use this formula. When it's used in this format, this row is, it points back to the key column of the table that this formula is in the context of. So go there with me conceptually. The key column for the timesheet table is ID. So what we're basically saying here is, in any other context, if we were going to have a reference column to timesheet, to this particular timesheet, we would do something like that. So in essence, that's what we're putting right here when we put this row dot year, is look at the year column for the row that's referenced by this key in the timesheet table. It's a little bit confusing, definitely not intuitive, and you may have to revisit that a couple of times as you build this into your applications. So let's go ahead and test this if I can. I don't think it's going to let me have our same problem as last time. I'm going to save it and test it this way. Okay, our number is drastically decreased. It was 129, now it's 1954. So if we look at our raw data and we look at the year here in column K, we see that all of these are 2020, but the rest of them are all 2019. And so the difference, if you only calculate these values here for the records in 2020, they sum up to 19.54. So that is one layer, but we don't just want the year, we also want the week. So let's add another condition. In order to have more than one condition, you have to use the AND expression. And so the AND expression takes any number of true, false arguments, and then you just separate them by a comma, and it says, okay, is this one true, and the next one true, and the next one true, and the next one true, until you complete all of your yes, no arguments. So we're going to put our expression in here. So we want to know that the year for the time card equals this timesheets rows year. And we also want to know that the week num with no Y is equal to the week num of the other column. Let me make sure that our column names are appropriate. Okay, they're week num in both places. See if I get the green check mark. Okay, my syntax is clear. I'm going to save it, and we're going to run the test again.
Stefan, quick question. If you have a multiple and as well as or conditions in your select, then you need to nest them. Like you may have an or A and B, or C and D. So you would nest the ors with the ands and vice versa, depending on the situation, correct?
Yes, yes. So because AppSheet's expression model is, I believe I'm saying this right, it's declarative. Everything is run inside of, like, the order of operations is all run inside these parentheses. And
Right.
so
Okay.
if you want to test if 2 conditions are true, but each of those conditions is an or condition, you would say something like, if either of
Right.
these are true and either of these are true, so making sure that both of these or expressions come back with a true value,
Mm-hmm.
you could do something like that. So it can get a little tricky, but nothing a little time and testing won't clear up for you.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yep. This is still going to give me an error here. Oh, there's comma. Got it. Okay. So now if we look at our aggregate test, we see that the test is now down to 5 because the current week number is week number 36, and the year 2020, the only record that passes that result is our one with 5 hours. Now, what if we had a different record for a different user? We also need to consider the user. So we would add in the last condition, which is the user in the time card table is equal to the user in this timesheet table, which is just kind of a rinse and repeat from other ones. And that completes our filter for that business logic. I'm not going to test because I think the answer is obvious for everybody. It's going to be 5. But I basically done the same thing here for each day, but included the day of the week. So day is 1. Week number is this row's week number. Year is this row's year. Actually, I realized there's an error here. I don't have the user statement. So I'm going to fix that and copy that into all of these. So this would complete the test for each day. Alrighty. So that concludes the example here for working with select expressions, building a list of things, taking that list of things and aggregating all of the values in that list to become a useful metric for your application or for your users, and then how to build them and test them. So any questions, final thoughts, or just random Q&A about AppSheet?
Oh, it's pretty clear. Thank you.
Awesome. Glad you guys enjoyed it. If nobody has any other questions, I'm going to hand it back to Clark.
Sounds good. Let me get this back up. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much again for coming to our webinar. Hope you guys learned a lot. Hope it was informational and that stuff was pretty clear, even if there were some issues with some testing stuff. But again, we're so happy to have you guys. We are AppSheetTraining.com. We're CrewTech. We will be here every week at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Thursdays, bringing you different demos every week, trying to give you guys as much demonstration, as much information as possible about AppSheet. and trying to answer as many questions as we can because we know that they're out there. So here is appsheettraining.com/webinar. This should work every week for you to be able to get to us. We also have AppSheetTraining.com here. This is going to be our self-paced training and our enterprise training. As I say each week, this is what I personally learned from. This is how I was personally trained, and now I'm hosting webinars for the company. So anybody can do it. It's not too hard. If you would prefer some one-on-one coaching for some personal Q&As about your own apps, feel free to hit us up either through crewtech.com or appsheettraining.com. We'd love to help you out, as well as development and support. So if you would actually like us to just build your app, as it can be frustrating, as we learned from today's demo, feel free to shoot me an email. Let me know what questions you have. Let me know how I can help you. I'd love to be available anytime for you. But yeah, that'll do it for today's webinar. Like I said, next week we'll be back here again, same time, 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on Thursday. All right, y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Clark. Thank you. This was very useful. This is again Alex from Paperwork Pros. I do have one question for either you or someone else. We're entering into development of a new application that will require some integration, and I know there's a lot of options when it comes to integrating with other apps. Just wanted to know if you guys have any resources, perhaps a past video or a past webinar that you have turned into a video that you can point me to. Whether it's doing integration through a third-party integration app like a Zapier, or directly into a tool. So if there's anything you have that you can share, that'd be very appreciated.
I don't think we have any material pre-recorded around integrating with Zapier, but it is on the list of topics for our next couple of webinars.
Okay.
So either next week or the week after that, we're going to both go over Zapier and Integromat and some of the different features that they offer in terms of integration. A lot of people will also integrate into any sort of webhook out into an intermediary code base, like a cloud function or a Lambda function if you're in Amazon world. Those are great places to kind of stage information, stage activity in order to kick off more advanced integrations or API calls or things like that.
Understood. Okay. Yeah, that sounds good. Looking forward to some of that information as well. Good.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Y'all have a great day, guys.
You too. Thank you very much, guys.